high temperature forecast record, that is, of 90 degrees. So this new record, of course, surpassing that by 2 degrees, well above the average normal temperature for a high of 85 for this time of the year. And to line this up with statistically where this high temperature would normally be placed, it would even be abnormally high for July and August afternoon standards. So very warm, especially for this time of the month and this time of the year specifically. Over the next few days, we could come awfully close and perhaps even surpass this high temperature, as we're even looking this afternoon to potentially break that record. Here's how the rest of the state shaped up yesterday. A lot of upper 80s and low 90s during peak heating. 90 in Brooksville, 86 in Sarasota, 89 in Naples. Today, these are the preliminary high temperatures that have already started to roll in. We did just hit 90 degrees here in downtown Tampa. Brandon at 90, 91 in Brooksville, leading the charge of the heat and the warmth. And notice right along the waterway, temperatures are a degree or two cooler than areas surrounding them. But as you go deeper inland, we also see the reverse trend. Kind of the sweet spot right now is for areas just east of Clearwater and St. Pete, north and south from Brooksville down to Bradenton, where they are also nestled at 90 degrees. My view from downtown Tampa, and you can see why we're experiencing this heat. We've got mostly clear skies here, humidity that isn't particularly high. It's not all the way low, but it has slowly risen over the past few days. We'll call it still relatively dry for this time of the year. Dew points are close to 60 degrees, and they've slightly risen from time to time into the mid-60s. That's enough where you start to notice the humidity, but still, it could be much worse. It's not necessarily enough to make your hair very frizzy or make it feel sticky in the atmosphere. Still a live view from Serrata Beach. I'm going to highlight this boat whizzing by here. The boating conditions over the past few days have been picture perfect. This guy right along the shoreline taking advantage of that. Another boat off in the distance here, and a lot more folks out there actually in the water because the water temperatures are now starting to rise into those mid-70s. Eventually they'll find their way into the upper 70s and perhaps even 80s over the next few months. So right on schedule there. Bradenton here at Bray Park. A few contrails in the sky, maybe partly cloudy conditions starting to develop there, but nothing that's going to block the sunshine too much. And the temperature there of 83 degrees is actually a little bit cooler than the rest of us, if you can believe it right now, when the average should be close to only 85. So that just shows you how strange the weather has been lately. Dew points across the state are between 70 and about 59 is as low as I'm seeing there. Somewhere in that mix is moderate humidity. The dew point scale has slowly risen since last week, where we were mainly in that pleasant to invigorating zone back into the moderate category. That could rise into the moderate to sticky zone as we get into Monday and Tuesday, where, spoiler alert, some widespread rain chances will be possible on each of those days. I need to stress rain chances. I don't think it's going to be a complete washout into the start of next week, but certainly more rain than we've seen over the past few weeks, as we've been in a bit of a dry spell with a lot of us still experiencing drought. We'll be looking at that drought chart coming up, but just note that rain chances are at least in the 7-day forecast. That's more than I could say over the past 10 days, where we were tracking hardly anything on the horizon or any chance for the atmosphere to ring us out some showers. Here's how the mandatory burn bans are shaping up. This has spread and extended a little bit farther north and also encompassing some counties like DeSoto County that weren't shaded in yesterday. This is, of course, because we still have some gusty winds paired with that drought, and all of this is being driven by that big area of high pressure to our north and east. It still has a chokehold on us and our local weather conditions. So it's steering those winds mainly out of the east, and it's also keeping us nice and dry with the heavy showers and thunderstorms. You'll notice up there near Jackson and New Orleans, spreading to the east, but not necessarily making it down to us. The Panhandle could see some spot showers, but here in Central Florida, we will stay dry for most of the weekend, apart from Sunday, where low-end chances creep back into the forecast, and we'll look at that with the Fox model here in a moment as well. Now, winds are tolerable. They're between 5 to 15 miles per hour across the board. 13-mile-per-hour sustained wind in Lakeland, in Sarasota, just now coming in, but our sensor site's not really pushing it past that mark, and I think for the rest of today, not going to see very gusty winds. Maybe tomorrow we bump up those wind speeds just a pinch, but 2-foot Gulf wave heights and moderate chop is all that we've seen. Light to moderate chop, I should say, with many spots not experiencing very bad boating conditions these past few days. Now, the Tampa Skycast does bring partly cloudy skies into play. I do think we'll still have mostly clear skies in other spots. It'll be kind of a dividing line there along the coast, depending on how things shake out. Either way, we get down to 70 degrees with lighter winds taking hold into tomorrow morning. Those winds initially out of the north will pivot out of the southeast, and the coolest spots in the big map aren't even getting into the upper 50s anymore. We're just talking 61 in Crystal River and Brooksville, 62 in Wauchula, and 62 degrees in Bartow as well as you get farther to the west, especially out there into Pinellas County. Look at the pair of 70s we have here, just sticking out like a sore thumb here along the coastline. That's just because they're surrounded by those warmer waters that are close to 75 to 76 degrees right now. Now, tomorrow afternoon, we turn up the heat again. Near record or record-breaking heat is expected. Now, 92 in Tampa would be enough to tie a daily high temperature forecast record, and that record was set all the way back in, I believe, 1958, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check those stats, but all I remember is when I was looking back at what happened in 1958 that was significant. To add some context to this record, well, that was the year that Elvis joined the military. So a long time that daily high temperature record has stood the test of time. We will see if that holds up moving into tomorrow, but certainly an interesting forecast here where a lot of us are getting as warm as 93 to 94 degrees. Look at Arcadia there, standing out in DeSoto County, 91 in Northport, 92 in Brandon, and here in downtown Tampa, 92 degrees, as I mentioned. Also expected that average temperature still should be close to 85, so we are soaring past that mark to the tune of 7 degrees. Gosh, 70 would be quite a bit. Marine forecast for tomorrow. Wind speeds mainly at 5 to 10 knots out of the southeast initially, pivoting out of the west in the Gulf. Wave heights there, 1 to 2 feet. Light chop within our bays, and boating conditions in general improving or remaining stagnant, not changing very much. So if you've been out in the waters the past 2 or 3 days, no major changes coming tomorrow from what we've been seeing. Now, high pressure stays with us in the immediate forecast. These are the warmer conditions as we work into the weekend. Notice in the left corner of your screen, a big area of low pressure rolling in off the off the west coast. That would be off the Pacific. That is just going to create a powerful trough that'll eventually fuel and become the catalyst for severe weather across the Great Plains and High Plains as we head into the beginning of next week. All that action is going to stay to our north, and we're still going to be feeling the effects of this high pressure system. The big picture showing moving into Sunday afternoon into the upper 80s and 90s we go, and that weekend forecast looking very similar to what we've seen over the past few days. 92 for a high on Saturday, 91 on Sunday. You notice that's very small 10% that I've tacked on there just beneath the sun on that Sunday. That's going to be for the second half of Sunday, specifically the late afternoon to evening time, and most of those isolated showers and perhaps an isolated storm would mainly be away from the coastline and inland. That would be near and east of I-75, closer to, say, Lakeland or Plant City, rather than along the coast close to Bel Air or Clearwater Beach. Moving forward, low temperatures will also stay in those 70s and 60s. We're not changing those very much. The weekend rain potential, giving you an idea of what I was talking about with the placement of those showers. This is all pretty much going to be on Sunday. I'm not expecting any rain showers on Saturday. Bartow, Dade City, Lakeland, Wauchula, Sebring, Arcadia. If I've said your community, even Mayaca City, all in the mix of spots that could just briefly see some rainfall, and we certainly need it, but along the coastline, not very much to be seen, and those chances are going to be awfully low for you until we get into Monday and bump up those chances just a tiny bit. So here's the timing of the better rain chances, as I mentioned. First, we move into Saturday afternoon here on the Fox model. Fox model doing a great job of pinpointing rain chances and even getting a head start on some of the other models that have taken their sweet time to pick up on even the straight rain chances into the beginning of next week as the sea breeze boundary becomes a little bit more impactful to our local forecast. Saturday afternoon looking dry here. We continue through the night into Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon even looking mostly dry. I can't say the same about the East Coast, as a few pop-up showers will first form there and then start to form closer to Central Florida into the evening time. This is 5 p.m. Spotty popcorn showers randomly and sporadically forming along portions of Central Florida, but either way, no rhyme or reason into their movement as they fizzle away, and we should be mostly dry moving into late Sunday night. Monday morning, we also start things nice and dry Monday afternoon. Look on the east side of the state closer to Daytona Beach. That's where those isolated showers and storms first get going, and then with a collision of the sea breeze boundaries, we'll see better rain chances moving into Monday afternoon and Monday evening. Those hit-or-miss showers likely staying below severe criteria, but worth watching for some gusty winds, cloud-to-ground lightning, and just the usual stuff we would mainly see in the summertime here. Now, Monday's rain chances looking much more significant, although this is a little bit early here with the latest runs coming in with quite a bit more rain than others are showing. So if anything, this could be overshooting the rainfall totals, but at least the potential is there in a much bigger way than it has been. And the other thing I want to point out is notice the coastline mostly dry in Hudson, St. Pete, Bradenton, Sarasota. That is not a thing just with this particular model run. I think a lot of them are keying into the higher rain chances into the start of next week being placed a little bit farther away from the coastline than along the immediate beach. As we move forward, the attention is going to be placed back on the record heat. These are those records I was talking about there. You see the 1958 record here for this afternoon. As you move into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 92 to 93 is all we need to get to, and we've certainly come close or hit that mark many times this past week. So worth watching for more records to be smashed as we've been above average with our temperatures pretty much these past 2 weeks and perhaps even the next week as well. This is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook that NOAA has put out. You'll notice that we are shaded a bright color of red. Yesterday, I compared it to a tamale candy, but either way, maybe looking more like candy corn here. Areas to the north, a 60% chance of seeing above average temperatures in that extended forecast. We'll look at the 7-day forecast here now to give you some perspective here. No immediate relief on the horizon apart from those rain chances on Monday. And again, a lot of that's not going to be positioned toward the coastline. Still, temperatures coming back down into the upper 80s by Wednesday into Thursday. We'll see if that trend continues. But if you looked at the last chart, you saw that we were above average in that 6 to 10 day range. Just keep in mind, 85 is the average. So we could still be in those upper 80s, and that would still qualify as more above average heat locally. Well, I'm going to send it to a quick commercial break, but when we return, we'll focus on more developing stories happening in other parts of the country. And we'll also play a little game of Guess the Camera. This one is going to be easier for the sports fans out there. I'm going to leave this shot on the screen. There are so many hints and Easter eggs, and if you've been dialed into the sporting world the past 24 hours, you'll probably know where this one was taken from. If you're more weather inclined, it was raining just a moment ago on this camera. You see lots of folks down there in jackets, lots of puddles as well, as it's also very chilly where this is located, all under mostly cloudy skies. When we come back, we'll review where this camera was taken and also talk about what's happening in other parts of the country with their potential for severe weather later today. And welcome back. We're playing Guess the Sky Camera. Now, before the break, I showed you this image and it was littered with hints. Lots of opportunities for you to guess this correctly. Even if you're not a sports fan, if you look right here, this should clue you in. Maybe this right up here, and a lot of sports fans down there wearing jerseys. Maybe you can get a closer look and decide where you're at. But the correct answer, of course, that's Lambeau Field in the background, and this is Green Bay, Wisconsin, the host of this year's NFL Draft. Yesterday that kicked off and was very interesting, exciting. My Titans had the first pick and, of course, got Cam Ward from Miami. I think hopefully that's the correct decision. Only time will tell, but I was really happy with that pick. And the Bucs even getting a fantastic receiver. I'm excited to see what comes of that. Second and third rounds will be later today. I'll be tuned in and looking here at live radar imagery. All the rain that they're putting up with there at Lambeau Field, well, that's staying well to the north of us. Really, all the rain showers we've been tracking here on SkyTower radar today. Tampa completely dry. We've watched everything really pass us to the north over the past few weeks for the most part. A stray shower here or there is all we've seen, and I think we're going to hold off through the weekend until the end of Sunday before isolated rain chances return to Central Florida and flying off to the north and east. Look at all this rain extending up through spots like Atlanta, Cincinnati, Washington, and into deeper parts in the northeast. Now, this is important because, as we've been discussing in New Jersey, that wildfire still getting under control, and all that rain is headed that general direction. Now, with the approaching front, it will be bumping up those wind speeds just a tiny bit, which is not good. It could increase the fire danger and the spread of that fire, but at least now it is 60% contained, the Jones Road wildfire, and it's only grown now to 15,300 acres. That is a little bit higher than the 15,000 that we had yesterday, but we were seeing jumps in the thousands of acres there for about 24 to 48 hours or so after this initially formed. So fingers crossed they can continue to get that situation under control. More rain extending down there from Washington should be propagating north and east that general direction. We'll see if that holds firm, but several of our models are indicating that at least through the weekend into Saturday, they'll have a good shot of seeing some steady rain from time to time. I'm going to flip myself to the opposite side of the screen so you can see up to the north and west. Notice out there near Lubbock how we're starting to see some isolated showers and thunderstorms beginning to form, while the stuff near the Red River that we were actually watching yesterday is now starting to fizzle out and weaken north of Dallas. Well, that is actually the same target area that we've been watching for the past 2 to 3 days of the forecast, because a dry line in combination with an area of low pressure is allowing some fairly strong storms to form in that region. Storms today that will be capable of some very large hail. We even had some tornado reports yesterday with these thunderstorms, as an enhanced 3 out of 5 risk is in place for today in that spot. Tomorrow, even a 1 out of 5 marginal outlook remaining in place for the leftovers of things into tomorrow morning and early afternoon. We'll jump into that in just a moment, but as we zoom out here on our general view of the United States, notice the dry line there extending ahead of a red box that has just appeared. This happened moments ago. It looks like they have issued a tornado watch across that region. We're in a chat room with the National Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center, and they'll occasionally put out little hints about what their logic is in thinking is with regards to putting out watches and warnings. And they had just acknowledged a few hours ago that they would likely be putting a watch out soon. So there it is. More potential for tornadoes in that same region. And again, a very firm, powerful dry line between El Paso and Lubbock that could kind of be the instigator or mechanism to get some of those thunderstorms to initially form. That stark contrast north and south here. I'll highlight it for you if you can't notice it here. Right along that yellow line is where the dry line is, and then an area of low pressure right here north and over portions of Lubbock. It'll also add another layer of things to get these storms going and keep them powerful. The storm energy will be continuing to rise through 3 to 4 o'clock. That's the red and orange shading on the screen. The reason we're not seeing those thunderstorms all over the place yet is because there is a cap in place. It's essentially just a layer of warm air aloft. Now, as the surface heats up throughout the day, eventually some of those thunderstorms will punch through that layer, and we're going to start to see them popping up like Christmas lights all over the place there in the panhandle. But until that happens, the atmosphere is becoming more and more primed to support these storms, and the bigger that storm energy gets, the higher chance that also goes up of seeing some of the larger hail that we've been seeing reports of across Texas and Oklahoma over the past few days. Now looking ahead, those thunderstorms form and eventually track farther to the southeast. This is 1 a.m. here west of Dallas, still holding together, but more rounds of those thunderstorms forming near Lubbock into perhaps San Angelo if this continues working deeper to the south into Saturday afternoon. By 3 p.m., still some leftover thunderstorms behind, and this is why they do have that 1 out of 5 outlook in place for tomorrow, but certainly something worth watching, or even some powerful storms farther south. You see down there south of San Angelo could be forming along the dry line before all this fizzles away, and eventually into the start of next week, our attention is going to be farther to the north. That powerful low pressure system that is pushing into the west coast, the same one we looked at earlier, eventually slides to the north. We see a big pull of that warm, humid air out of the Gulf that gets taken all the way up into portions of Iowa, Missouri. I'm looking at Minnesota and Wisconsin as well, spots that don't typically get all that saturation down from the Gulf, but because of that powerful low-level jet carrying this deep to the north, we're going to have that severe weather risk on Monday. The Storm Prediction Center outlining it in that orangish color there, including eastern sections, it looks like, of Omaha, drawing the line at Minneapolis and Wichita. I should say drawing the line at Omaha, and for areas farther east extending into Missouri, Illinois, and Wisconsin. The main threat, it looks like it's going to be damaging straight-line winds, a tornado threat, and additionally some hail as those storms initially form. All that's going to be tracking to the east, and we'll eventually see likely on Tuesday another widespread severe weather threat for parts of the southeast. That is not going to find its way down to us. In fact, as we look at the rainfall accumulation heading into Monday evening, Florida finally has some hit or miss rain chances appearing on the horizon. We don't have it in the immediate forecast, but that'll be on Monday into Tuesday. I'm going to send us to a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we'll take a deeper dive into that forecast and also hop into a viewer photo that was just sent into the newsroom. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, I want to show you a viewer photo that was sent into the newsroom. This one from Manasota Key. A fantastic shot of the sunset here by Laura Ross. Great job, Laura. Sometimes the distant clouds here can really ruin the photo, but it looks like a perfect little gap formed here for the sun to poke through. You see the reflection there in the sand, and altogether a great shot. And over the next few days, I do think we'll have more ideal conditions along the coastline to see the sunset and only have some high clouds that could even light up in some fun colors, depending on the timing that you're looking at stuff. A beach camera here at Longboat Key showing what all of us are experiencing today. Mostly sunny, beautiful skies, just some abnormal heat, and perhaps even some record-tying or record-breaking heat that's soon to come. 75-degree water temperatures right there along the coastline. We are right on track with where we should be for this time of the year, and as we head into May, that number will likely jump up into the upper 70s before into the 80s we go for June and July. High temperature right now is 90 degrees in Tampa. That also, as I mentioned, our high temperature for today thus far. We'll see if we can nudge up that mark to 91 or 92 and get into record territory. Right now, up and down the peninsula, most of us are finding our way into the upper 80s at least. Some low 80s there on the East Coast as they're facing an onshore wind. That wind for us blowing from inland back out towards the shoreline, and that's why spots like Frostproof, Bartow, and Wesley Chapel, even Newport Richey are cooking into the low 90s at 92 degrees now being reported there in Newport Richey. Tonight we drop temperatures into the 70s and 60s for overnight lows. Tomorrow we heat things back up into the mid 90s at 92 in Tampa and 92 in Bartow. Rain chances stay awfully low, but at least they're existing over the next few days. This will do it for SkyTower Weather Now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you again here tomorrow or on Monday.
Yesterday's